If you run a business, however big or small, and sometimes wonder whether you're doing things the hard way or the right way, then you're in the right place. We are two business owners who choose to sit around the same table, share mistakes, challenge each other, and keep learning. We are two ordinary blokes in business, and this is our journey to a million. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning, Martin. Yes, I'm well. We're not in the high temperatures we have been over the last few days, so it's a little bit cooler and fresher here today.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we've suffered with the weather a bit recently, and I know we try and make this podcast relevant to all types of businesses and all industries. But I think there's something about the lawn care industry when we have extreme weather or prolonged extreme weather that creates a bit of uncertainty, and it's one of those things you've got no control over, and it has consequences, doesn't it?
It does, yes. And no matter how much planning you put into it and how much education you try and give, it's still frustrating when you get the responses in from the customers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you think about it, like for obviously for us in our industry, we're to explain, we're having a prolonged time where we've had very little or no rain, and we've gone from cold temperatures, which are not conducive to grass growth, through to very hot temperatures. But it's the no rain thing that really scappers us. And I guess, like, for someone who owns a shop, it must be like the footfall being down. It's, for whatever reason, footfall just evaporates. And I guess that's probably what's happening on our high street because of online, the event of online shopping. It's out of your control, and it's really, you kind of feel a little bit helpless.
Yeah, I think it's also, I think words you could use as well, Martin, are words like frustrating. Because I know a lot of people, and we read a lot of chats about how people have been trying to communicate and with customers, but all of a sudden they become experts. But what they haven't done is actually applied water, and that's what they needed to do. They're quite happy to throw their logic as to why it hasn't worked at you, but actually, when you say, "Have you applied water, and how much have you applied?" the answer is no. And you go, well,
it is a living thing. If we stopped water going into your body, how do you think you'd get on?
Yeah. And that's what you want to say, isn't it? And unfortunately, you can't say it in that way. You can, but yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing, isn't it? Is that if everything was fine and dandy and you'd had a little, we've had no April showers, and that's what we all sort of work on for the spring. So
I wonder, taking that to just thinking about the fact that these set of events are not controllable, they're out of our hands. This is what happened to a lot of people in COVID, right? So the event of COVID, all of a sudden, income is wiped from them. And that's where this word pivoting or where I first heard it, people pivoting in their businesses. So moving from one service or product to other areas of business to survive. It was literally as harsh as that. They needed to earn an income, so they had to change what they did to survive. I don't think we're at that stage yet, but it's certainly, it makes you think, doesn't it? There's a certain vulnerability.
Makes you think hard, and I haven't got the answers. And I think also,
why not?
Well, because it's me you're talking to. I can do a lot of thinking about it, and I also think that you well, it's interesting because I suppose we can come on to this, is like plans for the summer. We do hard surface sort of care, and a few years ago we bought a a powered brush so that we're not just using chemicals, we can actually just go and brush it. But trying to get people's interest in that is amazing. The logic is there, as you say, the pivoting is there. You're a home service company that can be one solution, a one-stop solution stop for your, drive, patio, lawns. But trying to get people excited about their drives is unbelievable.
Excited about their drives. Is
Yeah.
that what you're telling me?
Well, I think I am, because, you you we can engage in conversation with people, but I think they have this sort of concept that it's a pressure washer and a pressure washer, and that's it. And actually, if they have it pressure washer, they'll have some of this magic sand put in there that will stop the weeds from growing up ever again, and it just doesn't work. Maybe that's education that we've got to keep on doing. But yeah, so certainly one of the things that we're looking at is for the summer. We can come on to this, but is that sort of hard surface care. But also locally, one of our local competitors now does not only the hard surface care, they do the gutter vacs and everything else, but we often get the feedback that people think they're constantly being sold to about other services. And when do you become the jack of all trades and master of none? Whereas I think our positioning on, in the service that we've got is that, we are the experts. We know what we're doing. Come with us, follow our lead, and you should get great results. But again, it's a partnership, isn't it? We're there once every, a basic customer, we're there 5 times a year. So we're there once every 10 weeks. There's an awful lot of time between our visits that they have to do something, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this has led on to an contentious issue, complaints. Like you said earlier, people are ringing you and saying, "Oh well, the seed hasn't germinated. My lawns. I've had my lawns looking the worst it's looked in years, and we've been paying you X amount since February." And I'm like, so is that down to us in terms of our education and setting expectations? Can complaints is something that perhaps we haven't talked about yet on the podcast, and it's maybe slightly contentious because you like to portray an image of this lovely business that works wonderfully and great people, and nothing ever goes wrong. But actually, the reality is there's not a business on the planet that doesn't have complaints, because you cannot please everyone. So is that an education piece? Is it how do you deal with complaints? Well, I mean, do you have a process, John?
Well, we have a complaints, compliments, and concerns sort of process. Yes.
I like that. Is that, do you categorize them?
Well, we do. Compliments and concerns don't actually go onto the complaints policy, the complaints log, because it's nice. It's nice that people sort of write in and say, I've got some weeds in my garden. Well, actually, we haven't done a weed control yet. That's your next treatment. So is that really a complaint? Well, they haven't had we would class that as no, that's just a concern, really. So no, it was a nice title that I thought of at the time, that when is a complaint and when is it a concern? And yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and he was moaning and groaning about exactly what you're talking about here, the grass seed germination. And I don't know. I think I think I have to sort of think about my approach with these sort of type of calls, because I'm going to stay quite firm on the fact as to, well, this is what we came and did. This is what we came and told you to do. This is what we've done. We've been back once already and sort of sprinkled some more seed in there. We know it works. And now you're telling me how to do my job, because you wanted to have some topsoil sort of put on it. Well, most people don't want to have topsoil put on it because they don't want to pay the price. Um, he didn't want to have his back lawn and his front lawn done, although they both needed it, because he didn't want to pay the price. So he's exactly in that category until it doesn't quite work. And then you start saying, well, have you watered it and how much? Of course I have, but damn well the last time we went and did a service call there, it was bone dry.
Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? Especially like this is. I think we have. So there's a lot tied up in this, and I think that the one thing that has become clear to me is something I've spoken about before on the podcast, which is getting credit card details up on file up front. So if we do the work, we get paid, because actually, I can't afford to go around to people's houses, do the work, and then not pay me. Based on something that is again out of my control and down to them.
Yeah.
And it's just their lack of understanding. It's a real tricky one. It's a quandary, and I don't think by any means that we're alone in this at the moment. I guess a lot of businesses, certainly in the horticultural trade, will be finding this at the moment.
Well, I agree. And if you look at some of the social media channels that we're on, I think there was a great post that was on last week from on the Lawn Care Association, and I actually screenshotted it and sent it to my team, basically to say, look, this is the same
reality.
This is the same seed that we're using. It's happening north and south of us. It's not unique to us. It's down to the the customer and the amount of watering. Now, I don't know what aftercare notes that you have, but we've actually rehashed our aftercare notes for lawn renovations and a watering guide in totality for this year, and we've had them all professionally printed and stuff like that, and we actually hand them to them when we finished a lawn cultural sort of job, and you start saying to people, this is what you need to do. We've talked about this before, but this is what you need to do. And you can see their eyes just glazing over. I've got to do something. I've got to put some water on. Really? Doesn't it just grow by itself? So actually, we've got the catch-all at the bottom that says, if you don't want to water, that's fine.
But your results will be impaired.
That's your choice. And actually people go, oh, that's a relief. And you go, well, I'll put you down as option B then. That's my bit on the doorstep. I'll put you down as option B. But but now they come back and they just totally deny all that sort of stuff. I mean, we had one guy with 150 square meters worth and saying, well, of course I've been watering it. Here's my watering can. Well, that's a true story. That's not. And the technician's just going, "You having a laugh?"
But then that's why I say, is that education initially? Is it is that down to setting expectations of what kind of watering you need? Because I always try and encourage our guys not to give the 2 times a week for 40 minutes type of scenario, but we've drilled it down to keep the seed consistently moist. And if the seed's not consistently moist, it's not going to germinate. So
yeah,
that's it. So complaints. So do you actually have? I mean, I'm interested in the complaints procedure because it's something we're looking at the moment as well, which is like what we want to categorize it and try and work out. Like you say, is it a concern or is it an actual complaint? Is it valid, or does it have any merit? Have we sort of let anyone down in any part of our service or our product? And then what do we do about it? And what's our process? And I think we're trying to get that into some kind of consistency at the moment. We're still in the research phases, but it's with events like we're having at the moment, it's the complaints do increase, and that's a reality.
Yes, and I think you you could disappear up your own backside, couldn't you? Sort of documenting everybody that's rang in about sort of the grass seed not sort of germinating like you'd have thought it would do, and then you get a good dollop of rain, and it all comes great. Um, so I think what hits our complaint, uh, what hits our complaint sort of document is probably more things that aren't really so much like this. It's where we've perhaps damaged a paver or something like that, which I don't always think is us, to be honest. I mean, we've got one of those going on now. So those are things that are probably landing more on ours, or in the past. If I look back at the past, we had a few years ago where we was getting some lawn disease and we just couldn't identify it. And we went down a route, I think you were part of these conversations. We went down a route of actually thinking, was it the fertilizer that was burning it? But actually it wasn't. I think it was the early stages of identification of a new fungal disease that was sort of unique to lawns. I think things like that hit it really, rather than a concern about grass seed. Because I think if I jotted down all of our concerns about grass seed and we went out there with the with the tool of truth and looked at how much moisture is in the ground, I think we'd find
Yeah.
that every single one was dry.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reason I don't want to labour the point, but it's having a conversation with my daughter who works for a well-known sort of out-of-town national car supplies and bike supplies shop. Um, their complaints procedure is basically they get told at store, and then it goes to customer services, and the customer services pretty much say, right, okay, is it valid or is it not? Right, it's valid. Okay, what do you want to satisfy you or compensate you. And if the customer says something that's ridiculous, they'll say, no, what about this instead? Or if the customer says something reasonable, they say, okay, yes, we'll do that. And it's like, that's how they deal with the complaint. I don't know whether there's anything in place to try and stop that happening again, or but it's just interesting that I suppose it's something that we haven't really spoken about and people don't really speak about because it's not a good image for your business, is it? But actually how you deal with things when they go wrong is actually probably the measure of your business.
Yeah.
Because if you don't deal with it and you don't then put things right, if you, like you say, if it is down to you, then you're not going to last, are you?
Yeah. So interestingly, what I did yesterday with this gentleman who I was talking to was saying to him, well, you've told me what you think. This is what we've done. We've already been back once and put some more seed down. And if that's, we're due again in a couple of weeks' time, I'll make a note and we'll look at it from there. But what do you want? How do we resolve this? And then you get there, well, I don't know. And I said to him, well, I'll tell you what we'll do is when we come round next week, if we decide that it needs some more seed, then we'll overseed it again in the autumn. But I'm going to do it in the autumn, not now, because obviously now, we can't guarantee the weather. I mean, it was like 30 odd degrees yesterday during this conversation, when he's been watering it every day.
Yeah.
And I says, we'll do it then. And he was like, oh, okay then. But at least
it's a solution.
Yeah.
And I guess as well for all of our customers that are for those of our customers that complain because things haven't been going their way on their lawn due to the weather, I guess we're also getting inquiries from people who are looking at their lawns and thinking, oh well, that's not very good for this time of year. So I've certainly noticed that we've had inquiries from people saying, oh, the lawn's looking rubbish, can you come and help us? Which our first sort of thing is do you water the lawn? the lawns are probably dehydrated. You need to get some water on there and then go through the process. So, I mean, I suppose that then takes us on to what are the plans?
Well, I've got one more question off that then for you, Martin.
Go on then.
So you're talking to the customer who's saying my lawn's looking pants. It's not your fault. It's a potential new customer, and let's say you're there doing the survey, so you can see what physical conditions it's in, and you say, well, you need to water, and they go, I don't want to water. What do you say then?
Well, I think it goes back to what you said. I think it's managing expectations. So fine, okay, there's no problem. What we can do, we can certainly improve your lawn, but you're going to be at the mercy of the weather if you don't want to water. So the grass is a living plant. It's a living thing. It needs water to not just survive, but to thrive. So anything we can do, we can apply products to your lawn, but they're not going to have the kind of response that you want without water. So you've got two choices. You either wait for the weather to happen or you irrigate.
Yeah.
And that choice is yours.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're back to cover my backside, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's a sad thing, but it's I guess when you're I mean, it may have happened to me before. I may have been quite ignorant in a certain industry or purchasing products, or well, I had an example the other day. I was told at a well-known national electronics store, somewhere I'd had a laptop repaired, and 6 months the repairs failed. And I was told that their warranty on that was 3 months. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So had that been made really clear at the beginning, then you have a choice to either pay for extra warranty or not. So I suppose that I have to try and measure that, and be realistic as well, and also use a bit of common sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay, you're asking me a question, Martin.
Yes. Before we go down that hole any further, because that was quite depressing. I mean, it's a reality of business, but it's a tough part of business, but it's real.
I was going to say,
it's not that much fun.
We've cheered ourselves up no end with that conversation, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Can I put a complaint in about the Two Blokes podcast, and it's a bit depressing?
A bit depressing. I wanted to get out of it.
Have you had any questions this week, Martin?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Have you?
I've done lots of questioning myself, but no, I haven't sent them in yet.
No one. Right. So I guess the whole thing, like, we're talking about the here and now in terms of what we've just been discussing, but we also have to deal with the future. So we're looking at. I mean, how long do you plan in advance, John, throughout your year? Do you do it quarterly or half yearly, or do you just see season by season, or what's the plan for the rest of the year?
Well, it sounds a bit sad, doesn't it? But here we are in May, and I'm already starting to think about autumn and how we do all that. And I think for me that's come from my background, where I'll use the words sales canvas plans, because we had to put those into place.
You always make things sound so fantastic, John.
Sexy, attractive. There's nothing like a good
sales canvas plan.
But we had to have all that ready to go into the retail world so that they can sort of buy the stock, we can get it delivered, they can get displays set up. So I've always sort of carried a bit of that sort of logic through to this. So yeah, I am actually thinking quite a lot about autumn, who we can be targeting and stuff like that. But my biggest thing at the moment is the summer, because we've had a really good spring, other than the dry weather, but we've had a good spring. But as we know, it's the summertime when the turnover goes down a bit, because we're not doing all that mechanical sort of stuff. And you know, you need to keep the cash flow sort of coming in. So we are certainly looking at, and this is the weather plays a big part of this, but I'll start off. We are looking at what we can be doing during the summer. What do we normally do? Trying to get people excited about their drives is one of those
Screams.
things. Ice creams, yeah, we could pivot into ice cream sales. Yeah,
Screams and ice cubes.
ice creams, yeah, could do that. Shading for the lawns, you know, we can go and fleece all the lawns with a green fleece so that people think it looks nice and green rather than brown because they're not been watering. We could pivot into loads of things. That could be a good idea there, couldn't it? Some green fleece. You're not convinced. Do you think it needs some work? Do you think
It needs some work. It does need some work. So you're going hard surface route, are you, for the summer?
No,
and
no.
then
I think. Do you do verticutting?
so like a light scarify.
Yeah, but with a proper verticutting reel.
Don't no. If
No.
we do it, we just raise the blades on a scarifier. If I'm honest, we'll do that so that we're not entering the soil. We're just cutting the blades of the grass.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we invested in a proper verticutting cassette. And a big shout out to Bertie Lynn, one of the people that we know. He did a video on verticutting that's got a couple of our guys
more views than we have.
got more views than we have. Yeah, well done, Bertie. Both fronts. So we're actually going to try and do a little bit on that for people to help control with like the annual muddy grasses and stuff like that and the creeping grasses.
Yeah.
And I think what's a good tick on that one is that it's a single man sort of process. Normally on culture we send out sort of two people, but that is a bit of a single man sort of process. And for me, it's about capacity fill again. So whether that's going to come through promoting that and drives, and then getting ready for a big hit on the autumn and an order book fill, which actually isn't looking. You know, it's looked a lot worse at this time of the year for the autumn as what it is now. So I have been looking at that sort of stuff, but this is for me now. This is the start of that summer, autumn sort of push.
Yeah,
really.
that's the upside of the problems we're encountering now with the weather. The upside is that often the autumns are a full order book because the lawns have not looked great through the summer and they need help recovering. So autumn is you need to plan, and you're already up on last year.
Yes, we were up on last year on our order book. In my mind, it's what do we set as a good sort of target to go for because we can have more capacity. What was the original question you asked me, Martin? Because I don't know whether I'm waffling on now or whether I'm still sort of relevant.
Well, I've asked lots of questions, but it was about the planning for the coming months.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, I think you've answered in terms of your the cultural work and bits and pieces like that, which is, and I was just commenting that that's obviously good. That's an increased. The demand increases on years like this where the springs, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
The spring's been awful. Autumn will be better.
Yeah, and I think in the past we've regulated the work that we do in the autumn because we haven't had the people capacity. Now we have, and I think what has been good. So we're paying our bonuses on the spring sort of fill the gap. We're paying them this week, and it's been a success, and it's been it got conversation going, it got excitement going. And actually, even one of our office ladies has got a bonus out of it, which is amazing.
So just explain this. These are bonuses based on the work you've previously done in the spring in terms of renovation.
Yes, we had a. You might remember the catch. I was quite ridiculed for it, but actually, it's had 1,600 views.
Yes.
Oh dear, I've had no fan mail.
Surprised at that. I really
I mean,
am.
it's oh dear. So yes, so basically, we did an initiative where we actually got people to talk to customers about sort of doing one or two extra sort of quotes in a day, and generating some interest, and it did, and we included the office people in that as well, because they're obviously people talking to people on the telephone.
So it's just upselling.
Yeah, bit of upselling.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
we ticked the box. We got some confidence on that. The guys enjoyed it.
And so the plan is to do that again for the autumn.
The plan is, I don't know whether to do this as a one-step, two-step, to do one for the summer and then one for the autumn. I might do a quick sort of bite on it, and because I think these things become great, but do they become too complicated? And if they're too complicated, do people less
appeal.
is more is a retail thing, isn't it? Keep it simple, less is more. And I'm just thinking that, do we do just a short hit on that as a canvas plan and sort of topical, and yeah. So that's
yeah, go on.
That's us for on that. But I think the next big thing for us is a massive big step change for us is we are investing in some more time in office and admin, but also into sales. So it's going to be more of a telephone sort of sales and follow up, and so we've got to do a lot of preparation in terms of an induction program. We've got to do I suppose a lot of identification to point them in the right direction to get going first on who we can follow up, and part of that is part of my longer term development for this year of actually relieving me of more of those bits that I do in terms of on the business rather than sort of in the business doing production. So that's a big step change for me, and yeah.
So I think there's a couple of.
Sorry, I was going to say, Martin. Sorry, it's scary and it's exciting.
Yeah, and there's a couple of really good nuggets there, which is about time because I feel like we've waffled this whole episode. But the nuggets for me there are, when to take on those extra costs in the office and how to offset them, because obviously you need the revenue to be able to afford those extra pieces, but also something you said which is absolutely essential to scaling a business, and that is simplifying operations. And that in itself is like, you could talk about that for weeks. It's really difficult when you're a one-man band. It's you control everything that you do. And so you're messaging to the customers, if a customer rings and says, can you come and apply Tuesday rather than Wednesday? The option, the likelihood is that you can. You're very flexible. You can give that extra service. As you scale, that becomes less and less doable. And because there are issues with logistics and people, and so keeping communication very clear and channeled, it's a really tricky thing to do, isn't it? But essential.
It is. It is.
Got any answers?
Well, yeah, I think we've talked about this in a podcast before, but we've done a program for the last sort of couple of years: review, simplify, and improve, and that's a bit of a thing that we've been looking at just in terms of communications going out. How do we make John's long wordy email a little bit more succinct? And we've done that, and I think that's gone down well. And I think,
can you give me an example, other than your email, but of your review, simplify, improve? Have you done anything in the actual service?
How we describe treatments, we've tried to do it like that, so it's not 3 lines coming out on a quotation that then risks one being moved. We've tried to simplify how we talk to people about those. A lot of it, I think, has come down through communication. A lot of it's come down to how we've actually set up the treatment programs. Like a note to myself now is that we come into the end of the spring rounds and we have a plan that includes an aeration. Well, actually, we'll change those now for the back end of the year to being a back end of the year aeration, rather than losing that revenue. But actually, it's still keeping the program simple for the technicians, where they can actually say this program's this much and this program's that much over a year, and it, when they book the work, we're still going to capture the majority of that sort of program. So we've tried to do stuff like that. Yeah.
Very good. Like it. Have you got anything else that you'd like to talk about, John?
Well, it'd be interesting to see if any of our listeners have got any questions about what they're doing on this, because
Keep banging on about it.
We do keep asking them. They they must all be busy looking at lawns that need watering, or planning,
Or getting on with their life.
or getting on with their life. It'd be interesting to see what people are looking at in terms of what are they going to invest in during the summer. Is it consolidation, machinery, people? I'll be interested in that. We're trying some new kit as well in June as well, so that's going to be interesting.
Be really interested in complaints procedures. I know that's not an exciting thing, but it's definitely a hot topic right now. So
well, it consumes a lot of time, doesn't it? And I think you have to beware. I think you have to think very carefully about what you see on social media, and actually not feel guilty about, if you see something great on there, learn from it, but don't beat yourself up that you're not doing it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I kind of do take a step back, and I see it for what it is, but I see it also as an opportunity for improving if it is down to us, but also to actually know how to deal with it, because I don't want people to be unhappy. I don't want their lawns to be rubbish. I want to have a reasonable solution, and a solution that works for everyone. I mean, one of the things that we have written in the office, if it's down to us, then fair play, we hold our hands up, and I'll read it off the wall. It's we're not perfect, but it's how we respond when we get it wrong that makes us special. And I do genuinely believe that. So I'm interested in how to streamline that process, so that we get we learn, and for things that we do wrong, but we also know how to deal with those things that are perhaps just tricky to communicate.
And I think these things consume a lot of your time. They consume a lot of your time
absolutely.
trying to put it right. They consume a lot of your time mentally thinking about it. They consume
admin, emails, chasing money,
a lot of your
visiting,
time talking to your team, talking through it, and making sure that they're feeling comfortable and reassured, and that their customers not being ignored. But just something off the top of my head, it might be worthwhile actually saying, do you know what, I've done 50 of these jobs this spring and I've had 2 complaints. Because that will probably put it into a bit more perspective, won't I? That actually, 50 jobs I've done, 2 complaints, 48 people have listened to the advice that I've given them.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I hope I'm not sort of being too consumed by this and thinking that it's a mega issue. I'm more interested in the process and where the cutoff lines are, and what you do, whether it's an email or a phone call, etc. The process interests me, and when to call it a day, really.
Yeah. Well, I think your answer to that is there's nothing better than going out there and doing a service call and actually, talking to the people about it, and actually demonstrating to them why it's, one side of you says, why am I going out there? Because I'm 99% certain this is the problem. But actually, as you say, the words on the wall are, it's how you handle it, it's how you deal with it. Is they won't believe you until you've been out there and demonstrated
Yeah.
the problem. And that's when you find out the bloke's only got a watering can.
And on that cheery note,
well, I think you don't need. Have we shared with the customers the wonky chair? We haven't got to get the wonky chair out, have you, Martin? It's not as bad as that, is it? It's nowhere near as bad as the wonky chair, is it?
No, John, leave the wonky chair. Right. Are you going to take us out?
Yes. Not because I'm bored or the sun's shining. Well, Two Blokes was never designed to be a polished business theory, just honest conversations about building lawn care business, making mistakes, solving problems, and trying to improve as we go. So I think today's been a classic episode of exactly that.
I think it's been anything but classic.
If something has resonated, feel free. Feel free to follow us, share it with somebody in the industry, or simply just send us a question on questions@twoblokes.co.uk, and we'll try and explore those in a future episode. So on behalf of John in Nottingham and Martin in Ashford, goodbye for this week.